Hi everyone, this is Mohsin Nazakat from GDSC Comsits Lahore, Pakistan. Welcome to Global Tech Feb Day 1. This is the Asia track, and as for the Global Tech Feb, this is an event in which we are going to discuss about the Google technologies. And in this event, we have GDSC leads from all around the world. And in this track, we are going to discuss uh, about three technologies: TensorFlow, Android, and Flutter. So we are a bit late. We were supposed to start at 4, but due to some technical reasons, we are a bit delayed. So, without wasting further time, let's move towards our host of the day. So, we have Joe and Farhan. So, over to you guys. You are on the screen.
Hello, everyone.
Khusham everyone, and hello everyone
Binabati
from
ko
Google
kayong
Tech
lahat.
Post. Yeah. So, hey, I'm Farhan, GDSC lead from Barrier University, Lahore Campus, Pakistan.
And I am Joanna Camille Judice Lead from Crystal Lake College, Bohol, Philippines. We are your hosts for this session.
Good day, everyone. I hope you all are as much excited as we are for the first day of our Global Tech Feb 2022 Track Asia.
This is an event that will let you discover and get to know different technologies, namely Android, Flutter, and TensorFlow.
Yeah. If you are not familiar with it or just interested in knowing it better, this is your chance to quickly dive into the Global Tech Feb. But before we start, we have a few quick questions for everyone. How many of you are familiar with Flutter? So I guess we can see the comments. Okay, so
So
people
there
are
are some
excited.
newbies.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have pretty much
Okay.
some audience who are familiar with Flutter. And we just want to let you know that you all are at the right place, and we are also interested to know which country are you from. So feel free to spam in the chat to which country do you belong, or if you're from GDSC, if you're from what GDSC chapter.
So we have people from India, Philippines. Yeah. So we have people from everywhere. So uh, can Joe is our yeah okay. So we have people from everywhere. So now, ladies and gentlemen, let's meet the first speaker for today's event. Introduce her to us, Joe.
Right away, Farhan. So for our first speaker, a software engineer undergraduate associated with Google developer communities like Google Developer Student Clubs and also Google Developer Group, Kolachi. She believes that we can achieve great heights with technology, and she also introduces Google technologies to students and helps them learn modern technology on and off the campus. And she loves developing mobile applications with Flutter. So, ladies and gentlemen, Ikra Katak.
Okay, so she will be joining in a moment, or where is she? So till that, feel free to spam the chat that how much experience you have with Flutter and where are you all from. So we are excited to know you all. Shoot, shoot. Okay, so yeah, so India.
We have Pakistan. And shout out to my GDSC CSC core team members from the Philippines.
Yeah.
No, guys.
So I hope you all are as much excited as we are for this Global Tech Feb Day 1. So let us know how you feel in the comments. Paul.
Recently, we have a lot of Flutter festivals going on from different countries, right? So a lot of people are actually familiar with it also.
Okay, so I hope you all are familiar with what is gonna happen today at day one. We have a session on Flutter, then Android, and then AI. Is that right, Joe?
Yeah.
Oh, there are a few Punjabi lights in the comments as well who are saying Jine Mera Dil Lutya, which is a very famous Punjabi song. Yeah. So, are you all interested for just Flutter, just Android, or just for the AI, or you are gonna take all the sessions? So, let us know in the comments that as well.
Are you also interested with Tensorflow? We will have that later on, together with Android. So we're so excited, just like you guys. So stay tuned.
Till that, feel free to like spam the chat with your
That's great. You
commentary
guys are
and
doing
all.
a
Yeah.
wonderful
Okay. So
job.
we have
So
Mohsin.
our speaker, she would be joining us in few minutes. So I was just wondering that Flutter is a very famous cross-platform technology that got uh, a lot of popularity in last few years. So is there anyone who has made something amazing using the Flutter? So he could share his about his or her project in the comment section. We would love to know about it. So our speaker is finally here. So without wasting any more time, let's move towards Ikra. So Ikra, you are on the screen now. You are live now, Ikra.
Yeah. Hello,
Hello,
Ikra.
everyone. Hi,
Hi,
everyone. Hi,
Eva.
Farhan. Hi,
Bye.
Joanna. And yeah, how are you all doing? This is amazing. Thank you for inviting me here. And I really want to apologize because it was an internet issue on my side. So I'm
Oh,
sorry to keep you waiting. But here I am. So welcome you all. And I'm here to talk about Flutter. Is that okay if I keep my video off because it hinders with the voice?
yeah, it's totally fine. It's totally up to you, the way you like it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Just because of the internet issues, I have to keep it, like this. But okay. So, hi everyone. This is Ikra Khatak, and I am a Flutter developer. And I would love to share my knowledge with you on Flutter today. And apart from that, I would really like to know Jonah and Farhan right now. Jonah, am I spelling am I pronouncing you right? I mean, is it Jonah
Yes,
or
yes.
Juana or like it's
It's Joanna.
okay?
It's Joanna.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
Right. So let me share my screen and we can start.
Uh, Ikra, are you there?
Just
Okay.
trying to share her screen for a while.
Yeah, maybe.
So while we're waiting for Ikra, I'm going to answer. We're going to
Yeah, I'm here.
answer
I'm
some
just trying
questions.
to share the screen, but I think there's just internet issues and
Oh, no worries. Take your time. Till that, we will like take the few questions we have in the chat. So the
yeah.
first one is Rupak Sapkota. How can I start GDSC club in my college? So, Joe, will you like to answer that or should I?
Um, for Rupak, you can actually start your club in college by applying as a lead candidate. Um, application period is still not open as of now, and for this year, in order for you to have your own club, you need to apply and then be the lead and then establish a club in your own school and then conduct events. How about you, Farhan? What do you think?
About the club, like, yeah. So the deadline, okay. So the applications are not open yet, but you can go and fill the interest form. So they will send you an email whenever the application will open. Then you can definitely apply for it. So first you are gonna simply submit the written application, and if you get shortlisted, then they will invite you over a interview call. And later on, if you even crack that, then you will be invited to lead the club at your campus.
Yeah,
So till that, we can talk about our experience as GDSC club leads so far. So Joe, will you like to tell us something like how was your experience since you became the GDSC club lead at your campus?
it was amazing so far since this is my final year in the academic year. It's actually very amazing to be involved with a lot of other leads across like different cities from different countries. It's actually amazing to conduct events and help other learn Google technologies and to grow as an individual. How about you, Farhan?
It was pretty amazing. Like I met very active people of my community who were doing wonderful things in their communities. Oh, there is Ikra's slides. So I think we can continue that a bit later. So Ikra, are you ready? Okay, so she needs still 2 to 3 minutes. So yeah. So I met many
Ready.
folks.
Okay.
Okay, great. So Ikra, over to you now. So you can continue with the session.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So, hi, as I introduced myself earlier, I am Ikra Khatak and a Flutter developer. Also, I'm a community builder. I have built a set of communities with GDSC, as Farhan mentioned, as Juana mentioned, and because they are the leading GDSC leads right now. And I have been a former GDSC lead at 2020-21 batch, and it was an amazing experience. It was like you guys are experiencing a whole new level of family and community and this whole new people on a global platform, and it's like you guys know each other from somewhere, and it's because you have these common interests like technologies and all that. So it's quite a beautiful experience that I went through and experienced. So apart from GDSE at my CUI Tech campus, I also manage and am a core team member of GDG Kolachi, that is Google Developer Groups of this whole city. These are the groups on city levels. You guys might know about them. So this is a Kolachi, chapter, and I am a core team member of that as well, and I have been arranging this Dev Fest that happens happened recently, and it was amazing. The experience was totally great. So let's go towards Flutter. So y'all have been talking about what Flutter actually is, and I'm like, yeah, I should at least introduce to the people what Flutter is who don't know, because it's kind of a tricky thing. Flutter is a framework, and some people think that Flutter, building in Flutter, developing in Flutter is like it's like a language or something, but it's not a language. The language we use in Flutter is Dart, but Flutter itself is a framework. Okay, but this has to be kept in mind that it's an open source framework, so you can have your own many things. You can build something that is not even there in the original framework, and mold the original code to make something anew. So that's pretty interesting. That's what open source means. You can change the original code and make it on your based on your interests. So, talking about Flutter, it's firstly an open source framework, and secondly, it's mostly used for building these beautiful UIs. And the most interesting thing that I'm going to share with you right now is it's multi-platform. Okay, because if you talk about Android, iOS, web, like I mentioned here, these are even desktop and Linux. All these platforms contain Flutter. Okay, they accept Flutter. They help us develop in Flutter, and the whole idea of Flutter embedded in all these things is amazing. So the language I'm talking about, that is Dart, is a very great language, because if you have worked in web, or if you have worked in Android, or if you have worked before in Java, you'd see that there are things that are pretty different. Because if we talk about web, HTML and CSS and PHP, if we talk about that, it's like um, a whole a tree based structure, if I will, it's there's a div, and then there's another div inside, and then there's branches and all these tree structures. Okay. But if you talk about Java, for example, then there's OOP in that. Okay, object oriented programming, and there's classes, and there's so many things that OOP has, object oriented programming has. And you won't see these concepts in HTML or CSS. Okay, so the whole the whole beauty of Flutter or Dart is that all these things have been merged inside one language, one framework. Okay, and this is amazing, because like we start from, for example, if any of you guys have started your technology journey, any for example, you have firstly you have developed in web. Okay, you have built an interest in HTML and CSS, and you like want to have build a career on this, but you are still trying yourself out. You're still helping yourself to other technologies as well, because you want to know that what other technologies and what other opportunities you have in this vast sea of tech. So the whole beauty I was talking about is, if you have developed in a web, and then you shifted to Java, or for example some other language, then you might have noticed a whole lot of difference. And you must have known that there was, oh my god, there was no mm, you know uh, variables in HTML. There were no what do you say, like classes in HTML. I mean, there are classes in CSS, but they're not like classes in Java or any other programming language. Okay, because both these you know languages that I'm talking about, HTML and Java, are totally different, because Java is a programming language and HTML is a scripting language. So how could one build a website, and how could one build Java app that could be mobile app, or that could be a desktop app, or a console app, how could that merge in itself? And if we talk about like if we think about it like that, then it's fascinating because the whole structure of the scripting languages, the HTML and CSS, and in the tree structure and all the widgets, if any of you has used developed in Flutter, then I would love to know how you developed it, and what technologies you use, what have you learned so far, and what great things you've built in Flutter. But if you have even done the basics, then you might know that there are widgets in Flutter, and there's this widget inside a widget thing, which is totally if you know HTML and CSS, is totally relates to that. So talking about HTML and CSS, and then talking about the whole app development, any programming language, developing language, then merging it, it's like building something new, and building it's like Flutter. Everything that we can build is inside Flutter, and we can build everything with Flutter. It is for Android, it is for iOS, it is for web, it is for desktop, and we can visit this whole website. Let me just look. Okay, let's have a look. See, yeah, this is the Flutter website. Can you see it? My screen is there, right? Farhan, can you confirm me?
Yeah, it's there.
Okay, cool. So this right now, what you see is a Flutter website, flutter.dev. Okay, and it is developed in Flutter. Like, if I refresh it, you would just see a whole lot of animation, and this whole coming up, and all that apps, and what they have built in it. This is like amazing. You see this web view, and this Android view, and I'm sure there is an iOS view or something here, but there's a whole lot of things that you can look to, right? And as we go downwards, there is this Flutter. What is Flutter? And totally, you can what you can do with Flutter, and how you can get started. If you want to get started, then you should definitely click this and install Flutter in your PC. Okay, the whole first step is installing Flutter, and how to get started with this whole framework that you have, if you are interested in Flutter. So let's not get inside this installation or that much, because I have already installed it because I work on it. But and I'm not gonna this whole event does not cover the scope of that. So we're just gonna go back and show you just a little bit of overview of Flutter. Okay, so this first, you see this, there's fast, productive, and flexible. If you talk about fast, then it's not just how fast you can develop it. Okay, it's like it doesn't even mean that there's less lines of code. It means that how beautifully and fastly it merges with the whole OS, that is operating system, or whoever, like whichever operating system you're working on, and this whole thing just merges with it, and runs on it pretty fast. So the main thing about fast is that it's like it doesn't even affect the processor or the RAM or the storage that much, because it's totally on the top layer. Okay, if you want to talk about architecture, then you could see some Flutter videos, or on YouTube, or all these Flutter channels that we have, Flutter you know Flutter dev, and so many platforms. Okay, productive is definitely how you can produce things in it. Okay, that is. Acha, there is one thing that I haven't talked about, it's like you must have, if you have studied OOP, that is object oriented programming, you must have known about how there should be classes that should be different from one class to another. So, or different functions or different, totally different files that you can integrate, or because that you can reuse. The main purpose of the code should be that you can reuse, and reuse is the best thing that Flutter has. And these widgets that we can produce are totally these reusable widgets that you can put in one corner and then reuse it for your benefit again and again and again. And if you want some changes in that, you can also do that. So reusing the whole thing and changing just one line of code is pretty much more reliable and a better programming practice than to write the whole code again and again with a different one line. If you have developed mobile apps with Kotlin, I would ask you to just compare it for a while. Okay, if you talk about Kotlin UI, okay, because you have to build a whole XML sheet for that, XML code for that, right? If you want to add a button, then at least there are 6 to 7 to 8 lines that you have to just put for the button, because you have to tell its alignment, you have to tell its parent, where should it be with respect to the parent, and where should it lie if it's constrained, or if it's a relative, or whatever, which wherever the whole thing fits. You have to explain the lines, and you have to what do you call it, like you have to take it just step by step, everything in it. Okay, but if you talk about Flutter, there is just one widget that is button. You have to put that widget in, and there's a button, and you don't even have to, tell that there's what size, or what that whole button should have. Because if you have selected a theme, if you have set whole proportions of that, your button will totally receive that. Okay, and you can just forget about what kind of lines you have to remember, and you have to write in the code. I admit there is one thing like width and color, and but that's just like CSS. Like you built in CSS, like color is this and width is this, and that is not very difficult to remember. Apart from the all right, like in Kotlin, we used parent width or constraint width or something like that, because I don't do Kotlin very well. So these Kotlin users must be hating me right now. Okay, you can transform your workflow, all the things you can see right here on this. I'm sure you can scroll through this Flutter.dev, and if you are already a Flutter developer, you have already, and you know these basics, and I don't have to go through them. But if you are still a beginner, I would definitely recommend that you go through these all these this ecosystem, and you should explore all the possibilities that you can have right now with Flutter. Okay, and Dart, of course. Apart from that, have to explain this Dart packages to you, because Dart is something that you develop it like Flutter. You have for Flutter, you must know Dart, and for that you have to know that if you want to develop in Flutter and Dart, there are dependencies, and there are packages that you can just call in your app and just use them. You don't have to write your own packages, you write your own code for all the things. You don't have to do that. So just call on the repositories that are available on GitHub already, that are open source. If you want to change them, you can change them. But if you for example, you have to geolocate something, right? You can just put one line in pubspec.yaml, and just pub get it. Okay, just you have to put the dependency name and the version, and there you have it. And just import that whole what do you call it, like the whole package to that Dart file, and there you go, you are done. You have this whole code that you can use of the geolocation or any other weather APIs or whatever you want to add in your Flutter app. Okay, so all the code you can use related to those mm, uh, packages are are totally available on just one line or two lines of the code that you can import. Okay, coming back, I'm sure you guys can go through that later again. I'm just gonna come back to some of my experience being a Google Developer Student Club lead. What I have, built things with Flutter, and apart from being a Google Developer Student Club lead, there's a developer in me. So when we were working on Solution Challenge, we developed apps in Flutter, and that was pretty much fun because there was a whole team, and it was amazing. So also we held boot camps, like bootcamp 101, and as you can see, like Walid Arshad was from here, Pakistan, that who were the speaker of our Flutter for Beginners event, because in this bootcamp we had a lot of tech and non-tech events, and it was a great success. Apart from that, our chapter, that is Comsas University Islamabad, the Tech Campus chapter, um, organized an Flutter event that was called Come Flutter with Me, and that was amazing. Okay, being a GDSE mentor is like, okay, as people who don't know what a GDSE mentor is, let me explain that. GDSE mentor is like a person who has been a GDSE lead, and now they can explain or mentor or guide other people who are not GDSE leads or who are GDSE leads to become, or to how to maintain this whole chapter, and how to you know these those workflow that they know there's a workflow, and they can guide other people to explore that workflow. Okay, so being a GDSE mentor, I have Google this whole journey that Bilal is having right now, because my successor is Bilal, Muhammad Bilal, and I'm sure you guys will get to meet him in a few minutes. Or and secondly, there was a Flutter festival Islamabad, and we were kind of part of it. We arranged it, organized it, and it was totally fun. So being a GDSE mentor, it was great to have a Flutter event that was organized by these people, and I got to uh, you know um, mentor it. Other than that, there's this. Oh, okay, okay. We okay. Other than that, we went to Air University, Camera, and we gave a seminar on how to join Google Developer Student Clubs and what is actually a Google Developer Student a club, and my teachers, my former teachers that have been um, being with been with me there on my whole journey. They liked the whole coming up from nothing thing, and they were like they had to invite us to their university now, and ask us that we should explain this whole agenda and this whole community thing that is that has led us to successes. So we did that, Bilal, me, and my former GDSC lead that was Zen Lisha. we all went there and gave a beautiful talk, and it was totally fun.
Ikra, the session is going pretty well, and we have some questions in the comment section. And also, we need to wrap up the session of Flutter in
Okay.
coming 5 to 7 minutes. So, could we just be quick and take the questions in the
Okay.
comment section? So,
Yeah,
I'll just
definitely. Should I move to comment section?
yeah, I think it would be appear on the screen. So the first question is from Muhammad Shahzeb. He's asking that what about Flutter for Android and iOS and Angular for web?
Okay, Flutter for Android and iOS and Angular for web. I mean, definitely it depends on your interest, because it, as you can see that I'm talking about Flutter, and I develop apps in Flutter for Android and iOS, and it is going great. And I have been, working with other people, other clients, and this whole okay, let me just tell you that, for example, I'm just going to give you an example about how I developed maps, Google Maps. There's a thing called Google Places. If you have been if you have any interaction with that, have had or not, I'm just going to explain it. The Google Places, it does what Google Places does is what it tells us, like, if you search a place on Google, it tells you that there is a place, this place, for example, there's this hotel, and it opens at for example 10:30 in the morning, and shuts down at 8 or 7 in the night. Okay, if you talk about that, then it's totally dependent on how the information is given on Google Places API. Okay, this information has to be stored in the Google Places API and then gotten from that, and then when we search it, it fetches the whole thing and displays us. Okay, so what I wanted to do with my app,
Oh, sure.
I'm sorry, is that the end call or something?
Yeah, no, it's okay. So
Okay.
it was. You can continue. No
Okay.
worries. Sorry,
So
sorry for.
okay, let me just not drag it too much. Let me just tell you that this whole application that I was building was based on getting that information of the place that I wanted to choose. Okay, and that app displayed the whole place and its information on this app. Okay, so what I was doing was fetching that whole information from the Google Places API and putting it in my app, with Firebase, of course, involved. And if you talk about that experience on how I, because right now this and let me add one more thing, that this whole thing was not was like also this also had an admin panel. So that admin panel is in mostly developed in web. Okay, Flutter web. So it was amazing that I had to fetch the whole thing in Flutter web and then save it in Firebase, and then fetch it from Firebase to the app that the client was using, a mobile app. So this was amazingly interactive, because the whole Places API that had to be fetched from the information that had to be fetched was going to Firebase and then coming to the mobile app. So this whole thing, what this taught me was three things. What were that first, you have to work how to work on the Google Places API. First of all was that, and then how to put it in Firebase, and then how to fetch it. Okay, these three things all in a row. And if you talk about Flutter in that app, if you talk about my experience, because I'm here right now telling you my experience, how I developed in Flutter and what my experience was, because you asked a question on how to build a uh, uh, you know an Android or iOS app in Flutter and Angular for web. Because right now what I'm telling you is that web panel that I was using was built in Flutter. not in Angular, not in HTML, CSS, or PHP or anything like that. It was totally based on Flutter. Okay, so it is this whole thing was mainstream. It was like going from one place to another, and this whole thing was merging into each other. I didn't have to do a thing. Okay, so if you talk about going to Angular or some other thing like a Flask or things like that to build your web panel, and then go to this building this mobile app with may be Android or iOS, doesn't matter. Then with Flutter, if you want to do that with Flutter, then you would have to integrate them in some kind of way that would be difficult for you, because Angular and Flutter, I don't know how well they mix. Okay, so this is like,
Thank
if you work
you,
on
Ikra.
both the things with the same platform, it'd be so much easier for you.
Thank you, Ikra. There are some other questions in the comment section, but due to the shortage of time, we might not be able to take them. So,
Okay.
for the audience, I just want to tell you that Ikra is pretty active on social media, and especially LinkedIn. So, Ikra, could you please share your LinkedIn account in the comment section so that people who has question might reach you later,
Yeah, definitely. Let me do that.
please?
Okay, there was this one thing that I really wanted to share. Let me just share my screen again. I promise I won't take much of your time right now. It's, but it's kind of important, so I thought that you guys should know.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, so look at this. This Flutter.py is an event that we held in collaboration with three main GDSC leads. Okay, that was Karachi, Islamabad, and Attak. So these university leads were more than happy to work with me on this beautiful app that we built, that is called Flutter.py. So the main concept of the Flutter.py is building an app in Flutter that can be an Android app, iOS app, a web app, anything that has to be in Flutter. Okay, that is built in Flutter, but on the back end we use Python. Okay, we used this Django API, Django REST API, and we performed CRUD operations, and we fetched and deleted and edited, and the whole CRUD thing that goes on. Okay, so these CRUD operations were based on the Python. Okay, this Python API, and but the actions that we were doing was totally on Flutter. That, like, the clickables and interactive UIs and all that was totally on Flutter. But the backend is what I'm talking about. It was Flutter, was Django, like Python. So this whole mixture is totally interactive because Flutter can adopt so many other languages, and it can work with so many other languages like JavaScript for web, and Python, and even Java, even Kotlin, and so many other things that can languages that can integrate with Flutter. So never think that there's only Flutter, and the things that have been built in Flutter previously on pub.dev, like all the packages and repositories that have been built. Don't even think that it's contained or it's limited to that. You can build your own things on the back end with any other language that is uh, uh, that is integratable with Flutter. So if you want to hold, we did this whole event on Facebook Live. So there's this link, and we can you can also see the repository on m.hamza hmzdev dot slash flutter.py, because Hamza is a Flutter developer with me, and he helped me build this whole thing. It was an amazing experience. While Rahil is a Python man, so he built this whole Python thing for the backend. So you can totally go ahead and look it up. It'd be a great experience for you.
Once again, Ikra Katak about Flutter. Thank you so much, Ikra. The session was amazing, and I hope the audience loved it so much as we did. And thank you for putting your time and energy into Global Tech Fest.
That is amazing. Thank you for inviting me
For
and
inviting me.
for listening to me, guys. Take care and Allah Hafiz.
Okay, thank you so much, Ikra. So now we are done with the Flutter. Let's move on the next session, which is on Android. Sanjana and Bilal will be the host, and Vibali will be joining us as well.
Hi, Sanjana, Mushin, and
Uh,
Vibali.
there is a little change in the plan, so let me discuss
Okay.
it first. It's not Sanjana and Bilal, it's Mohsin and Vibali. Due to some reasons, they could not join us. So we would be managing the things for the coming session. So thank you so much, Farhan and Joe. You did a wonderful job. We can take care of the things now. So, Vibali, could you just introduce the next speaker?
Yeah, sure. It's my pleasure to introduce our next guest, Niharika Arora. She's currently working as a developer relations engineer for Android at Google and was a Google developer expert for Android. She is one of the contributors of for Government of India's contract tracing app Arogya Setu. In her free time, she loves to mentor people and help them learn and grow. So, really excited to have her.
So, without wasting any further time, let's go towards Niharika. So, Niharika, you are live now on the screen.
Hi everyone. Thank you for inviting me. I've always had this great experience talking to students because I feel experienced ones can get knowledge or they can connect with people because they are already in the industry. But I think students needed more. So what I missed, I just share through my experience with people here. Thank you.
Right. I actually love your name. I love your name, the Droid Lady. Like it was so innovative. When I was going through your profile, and I was like, "Whoa!" Like it took me some time to process it. I was like, "Wow!" So I'm really excited to have you here, and I have a couple of questions for you. So my first question would be like, out of all the domains, why do you think one should go for Android development? And on a personal level, what made you choose it?
Okay. I would say I am into Android, but it's not like I suggest people to just follow one domain. It's like it's your age right now where you can explore many things. You can take a risk for anything right now. Any domain you choose might be fail at many things and succeed at only one thing. And it's always about what excites you. It's not about people go with trend. I don't believe in that. There will always be trend for many things happening out there, but if you get excited around a thing which is rare, might be people are there which want to go to for React, might be people who want to go for back end, front end, anything. I would say explore all these things, then get to know if that excites you or not. For me, if you ask me, like, for Android, if one wants to go for Android, I would suggest, like, Android is something which, if you see, everyone is using smartphones these days. One might not be able to afford laptops or desktops, but they are able to afford cheap smartphones as well. And anything, for everything you have applications. So there is and Android is not going anywhere. So I believe that. And for me, why I chose it, you would say I'm an evergreen person. I don't like black and white things. Going behind the scenes for back end and doing all the things. I loved doing the things on my mobile device and seeing what I am building. I can just see in front of me what exactly is getting done there. So I loved it, and this is how I got into Android. And still till now, I'm not bored. People get bored after so many years, but I think there are so many exciting things coming up in Android every day. So I think I would never get bored of it also.
Yeah, that's actually a really great point. It's just so exciting. And as you said, it's really colorful and not static. You don't see terminal all day long. Like you have a life, right? And also your point about mostly everyone, especially let's say in India, like most of the people use phones more than they do laptops, excluding the developers. So I'm very, your points are really solid on that. So like, what is your roadmap to become an Android developer? And any resources you would like to share with us?
Yeah, resources I would share. For the roadmap, it's not just for Android. Anything you are doing, I would say first have the network around you where people can guide you with constructive feedbacks. There should be experienced people who can suggest you or advise you if you are doing right or not. Because if there are people, only then you can get to know if you are going in a right path or not. I had many seniors around me who can guide me around it. There should always be, like, learning should never stop. If you have learned five things in a day, and then after that, after a week, for a week you are not learning something, I don't believe in those things. I think your learning should be constant. This is the only thing. You should be learning a new thing every day. That's how you keep up to date to the latest technology and trends happening in the world. And also keep exploring in a practical way. It's not about just going with the just reading about it. uh, Maybe doing open source, talk about the things, speak, as you can have many events where you can speak about what you learned, or mentoring people around it, what you have learned. I think these are few things what make you more confident around what you are doing in life. And this is how I think when I have to write a blog around something, I need to go in depth for that topic, and then I proceed, and get to know, like, now I know everything around it if people ask me. And this is how you become confident in life. So this roadmap is something which I follow, and I think till life, I think I should be following the same thing. Otherwise my learning won't be like, uh, there's so many things coming up. I won't be able to cope up with all these things.
Right.
Niharika, there is this thing called breadth knowledge, and there is this thing called the knowledge in depth. So, what do you think? What sort of knowledge do we need to have in Android? Because Android these days is connected to a lot of different fields. Like we have dApps, decentralized application, and machine learning based Android applications. So, how important is it for a beginner to have a breadth knowledge of Android and the fields that are revolving around the Android?
If you ask me, like, if when I am talking to a person who is just 1 or 2 years experience, I want them to explain me the what and how the things are getting done. Because right now you are just in a learning phase. If you get to know how the things are getting done, you will get excited around why these things are there, like the why this framework or why this library is there. And this is how you create that in-depth knowledge. But for the beginners, if you have interest, for sure you can go in depth. But I think you should start with what and how, as you started with ABC, right? Since in your nursery class, and then you went to the sentences, how why this ABC meant to you, right? It was not like your teacher just said you, like, you need to learn ABC because you need to go for sentences and create an essay or anything like that, right? You should be knowing the what and how at that moment. And after some time, when you become habitual around all these things, I think that is a moment where you should start looking at the framework and why are these things there. Because when I am talking to a 5 or 6 years experience, also a 5 or 6 years experience, and I learned it hard way. Like, if you don't know what is the intention, why Android created this framework when already an alternative was available, it makes me it turns me down. Because you are just learning the things which a 1 or 2 year developer can also do. You should be knowing the things in depth at that moment, so that you can guide someone. If a junior comes to you and junior can ask anything around it, no question is stupid at that time, even if they are asking what is Android. So if you know why this framework is good for your application, only then you can get to know the performance impact of that particular framework or library in your code. So at that moment you should be knowing it. So yeah, it's a key aspect. But gradually you go to that path. But I think when you are in just a 1 or 2 year stage, you should be just learning the what and how. That's how you proceed.
I saw you mentioned about your blogs in the earlier answer, and I was reading your blogs on on your Medium page, and I loved them. Like you've detailed it out so well, and no wonder you have like more than 1,000 followers on Medium itself. So it's
Thank you.
really great to read your blogs.
Yeah, yeah,
Who do
yeah.
you,
I think yeah. The only thing I need to mention here is these are organic readers, right? Where people, if they are getting some good content, and the content is something which I think they are not able to find somewhere, or the other reason is it was easy to understand, maybe. So anytime you should never think like if something will already be there whenever you are reading about it. If you got something which you think, if you write about it, and this should be understandable by someone who is reading it, I think you should also write about it. It's not like if 10 blogs are already there, there can be many things. There will always be many things. Only you should know, like, if something you learned and this might be helpful, there are million of developers. If 10 are reading and they are getting benefit out of it, I think you should go for writing about it.
right? We'll definitely take that into consideration. Who do you think an efficient Android developer is?
No one is efficient. No one efficient is, again, as I earlier mentioned, I think if you are learning every day, you are learning a new thing every day, I think only then you become an efficient developer. No one is perfect in their technology. No one can become that, even if that is someone, a CEO or CTO of a company. It's just that I believe in one thing. You know 10% of the things in your learnings, and it can be there. You don't know the 90% of the things, but that 10% should be able to justify the 90% of the things you are not doing in life. So it applies in any domain you are working. That 10% should be strong enough that the interviewer or the team knows that this person is capable of doing these specific things, and he's an expert, he or she is an expert in these. So you should be able to justify the 90% of the things you are not doing, and if you are doing that, I think you are at a great path of achieving things in life.
Niharika, what do you think that what's the future of Android? Like with every update, they are putting something amazing in the Android, and I think Google recently launched Android 13. So, what do you think is the future of Android? Where is it going?
uh New versions will always be there. Many libraries, many alternatives will be there. The only thing is which is stable is, I believe, is the native part. As like you can see, there are many frameworks also. Many other languages are also coming up. You have React and Flutter. The one thing, I have worked in React also, and it's not like I'm defending something or I love Android. It's not about that. But the native feel what Android provides you, I haven't felt till now in anything else. Like if I talk about the Kotlin, Kotlin multi-platform is coming. That will give you native feel, which is also supporting iOS web there. If something is there with a native feel and you are getting through the same language, you are working in native, then why would I prefer learning a new language? If I talk about that aspect, and if I talk about the different API levels, Android is open source, right? Every time, if something is open source, you need to the reason of coming different API level is you need to secure it, because people find many ways around how the things are there. Then you need to develop a new things for optimizations. Then there are different OEMs which are manufacturing the devices, right? So you need to work on performance optimizations, you need to work on privacy and security, and that's why the new changes comes up in another Android versions. So this is one of the reason where when you see different versions coming up, because Android is open source and we have to keep that security and privacy thing in mind. Seeing if you see just India, if I talk about just India, right now, I think 70% of people are with Android devices, right? So it's a great number, and you need, and there are different devices available. So you need to keep them secure. The data should be private, and then the optimizations, the performance things. So yeah, this is the reason why the things are coming up, and this will always be there.
Right. Also, I love the way how you give like a framework of knowing things. Like you don't say, for Android, you just do this, do that, blah, blah, blah. And then that's how you become an Android developer. You give like a development framework of your mind to let you know that this is how you can probably achieve any development domain. So that is really
Yeah.
inspiring to hear.
Yeah,
So,
I don't think people should be just considering one domain right now. They
right,
should be exploring different things and then get to know what exactly excite them. So yeah.
really awesome. Um, what do you think is beneficial, becoming an Android developer as an employee of a company or as a freelancer?
Okay. I can give you a very basic example around it. You go to school, right? Why do you go to school when you're just starting, right? You needed a teacher who can guide you, right? Your parents might be doing few things where you are not getting enough time from them. They can teach you many things around it. The teacher's job is only to teach their students, right? So the same thing applies when you are a fresher and you need someone to guide you, and you grab all the culture, the work culture, how the things are working under technology. So you need to learn all these things before you start freelancing. And the other thing is, uh, again the same example, when people see you are graduated from a school, or when people see you just learned it from yourself, right? You might miss a few things which were there, right? So if someone has an experience, people trust you, and then only then you get some good projects around freelancing also. uh, or you are, or the rare exceptions are there when people just started doing college and they have very good projects to show. Even that is great. If that is not the case, I think you need someone who can guide you. If you see the CTOs and CEOs of startups right now, they are like 10 or 12 years experience from a same company, or from they had this kind of experience, and the reason was they wanted to interact with different employees, they wanted to interact with different stakeholders in the company, the product manager, designers. Now they know how to deal with those people, right? Then they started their own organization. So this is the reason, when you are fresher, I think you should be going with uh, knowing someone from getting to know all the things through a company or organization, and then I think you should switch to freelancing. And you can just do both the things parallelly also. People are doing, I am doing that also. So
Oh,
yeah.
that's awesome. That's really awesome. How do you manage your time, doing both of these at once?
I believe when you love something, you always have priorities in life. As you have priorities for family to give time, I think, then if work is priority, you will always have time. Otherwise, reason will always be there in life. Till the time you don't find the solutions for the things you love, there will always be reasons. So yeah.
I agree. I agree. I really agree on this point. You are a contributor to the Aragya Setu app, which is, I think, used by almost all the Indians who have smartphones, right? So, how was it like to contribute in such a huge project that's going to affect so many people?
Yeah. So when I got to know, like I have to, like I got a chance to work on a big application like this, and we just got 15 days to develop an application which was getting, which I got to know, like this is getting this will be getting used by millions of lives. And something, this was not a just an application, it was something at that moment, you can say something related to lives of human beings. The one thing, the idea behind Arogya Setu was, technology is something which remembers what you want it to do, right? But human mind is, if I remember something today, might be after 4 days I'll forget a few things, and after 7 days I won't remember that. When COVID started, it was like when you met a few people, and might be you don't remember those people, and you get COVID, and how to communicate those people that they should get checked, right? This was the whole idea. and I knew there's some pressure around me, and building it in again in 15 days was a great challenge. But I learned a lot. I think again, dealing with millions of devices, getting so many crashes at once, then resolving them, then dealing with the security part. The basic thing was, if we are taking security, if you see, many hackers tried to do all these things, like hacking it up, but we never had the kind of sensitive information which was getting passed on anywhere. So touch wood, we always had that maintained, and people were able to trust it to an extent. Again, then things change, and many things were, right now many things are there which are connected to it, like the COVID vaccination and things like that. Now government is handling it, but when we started the technology part, we uh, this was the only thing which was done by us. And yeah, I am proud of doing that, because this is the only thing, being a software engineer, I was able to do for the country. Otherwise, you are doing, might be helping people, doing donations and all, but being a software engineer, I got a chance to serve my country, and this will always be a proud feeling for me.
Right, it is like you don't get many chances to do that. So that's just amazing. So, how can one contribute to the Android community, and how have you been benefited from the GDE community?
I think I'm always proud to being a GD here. That is also one thing. There are few people when I got a chance. Before that, so GD is something, Google Developer Expert program, where Google recognize you based on your contributions you are doing in the community. It can be anything around the Google products, Android, web, or Flutter, anything around it. When you are doing helping people out, so who helped might be help, they also help you somewhere someday. So if you are doing all these things for the community, Google recognizes you for that. At the moment when I was approached, I didn't know like what is Google Developer Expert, and I think I feel proud around it that I didn't know, because I didn't do the things intentionally to become a Google Developer Expert at that moment. And I think this helped me in growing, and I took some time. We had there's a process that happened, and after that, this was there. It always motivated me. It was not like this is just a like recognition. It's not like you get associated with Google or something like that. It's just a recognition. But the thing is, uh, there were pros and cons. People started trusting your words, expert is something they just see like that someone is expert. No one is expert. Trust me. It's just that the things which I did, I think I was confident around those things, and that made me what I when I become a GD. But yes, it's just a recognition for all the things you already did in past. It's not like you should be doing it just for the sake of getting this recognition. But yes, after this, I got many events to speak, because then people start reaching out to you, and uh, I wrote many things. People were appreciating that. So I think I was able to reach more people out there. That was the main advantage of what I got from this program. And I am not a GD anymore. When you get associated with Google, you're not a GD, because those are people outside Google. So, but yeah, I love being a GD for sure. It has
That's
given me
really,
so
really
much
good.
in life.
That's amazing. Definitely, being in a community of Android developers also teaches you a lot. And I was reading like you have also mentored a lot of developers all over the world. So how has mentoring benefited you, and what did you learn from your mentees? Something you want to share with us?
Totally, I think both grow at that moment. It's not just mentee who is learning. I'm also learning with him or her. Sometimes what happens is there are so many questions coming up. You might have not heard about them because you might have worked on a few parts of it. I research about them, I talk to them around it. Also, it has helped me in my personal growth as well. um, there are people who are demotivated in life how to do things, and then you take a challenge to make them feel good about them in those 2 or 3 months around the technology, around maybe development or anything they are doing. Maybe they are doing some projects or they want to go for interviews. So I got some flavors of how to deal with people and how to keep them motivated, how to discuss the how to take the tech challenges. And might be I encountered many things which I haven't done in even in tech sometimes, and I did it on my own to teach them. So all these things helped me in my personal and professional growth both. So both are learning at the same moment, the mentee and mentor both.
That was really great to hear. It's always a blessing to have a mentor who also has a growth mindset and is ready to help you out. So that's so awesome. So, what are the steps to becoming a GDE for developers who have already begun their Android journey?
For GD, right?
Yeah, GDE.
Okay, I would say, as I mentioned, the community contributions matter a lot. If you are already doing that, maybe it can be open source. It's not like you need to go for everything like open source, speaking about it, mentoring, blogging, or maybe doing some workshops, anything. If even if you are doing one or two things and you are doing efficiently, you love that. That is the main thing. That is your passion. It's again, it's not just you're doing it for the sake of getting some recognition. You will People will start reaching out to you. It's not like you need to reach out someone. If you are already in the community where people know you because of your work, there are people who are in hunt of all these great minds, and they will surely reach out to you. It's just that you need to be constantly doing those community contributions there. For any Google, any domain here, we have other programs also, where like GitHub expert for open source also, right? The same way, many programs, many recognitions are there. It's just that you need to be constant in one or two specific things in life, and people are there to appreciate you.
That's true. You just have to keep on doing the work and you'll probably get the rewards and recognition afterwards.
Yeah.
We did touch upon this a little early on, but I want you to elaborate on this. Do you think Android development would still be a good career choice, let's say 10 years from now?
I would always say this, like, yeah, because I till now, like, in 6 years, nothing has. Many technologies are coming up, but still, Android is one of the product right now which is getting used by everyone, because the native thing hasn't been like, um, you can say it's always on top of for that. And I think, again, as I mentioned, like, with Kotlin right now, the Android main language, Kotlin multi-platform is coming, which will be having this multi-platform thing also. And people don't need to learn new languages. And if I talk about in other terms, it was in technical aspects. If I talk in other terms, I think, again, there are many OEMs, many manufacturers are there which are manufacturing many devices, where you are getting cheap and cheaper devices. No, not everyone can afford an Apple device, right? But Apple, Android is something you can have 8 or 10,000 device also. Even for your parents, I think we all buy that cheap devices because they just want to have the WhatsApp or anything like that, right? So you mostly are going with the Android devices, right? So I feel it is not going well. It is not going anywhere, because the native feel is something which is not broken by anyone till now.
Like, even though cross-platform frameworks have come, but the performance of native frameworks will always have an upper hand.
Exactly, true.
Any field has its positives and negatives. So, could you please tell us the negatives in this field and how can we convert them into positives?
uh, I think the negatives, I won't take it as a negative, but yeah, obviously, when you are learning something, there are always pros and cons. With Android, you have to cope up with many things. You have to deal with many things, like different API levels, as Android 13 is there, Android 12 was there. There are so many Android levels, and there are different OEMs. So one uh, thing I think I did was, there are so many OEMs which put restrictions on their devices. They are good for users, but not for the developers. It's like, they put some battery restrictions for which the background things are not running in your application. So these kind of challenges come with Android, which are not there with others. But again, as I told you, Android is open source, and many OEMs can update it based on what they need for their devices, right? So that is there for them. It is useful. You are getting cheaper devices there. uh, if you are constantly learning the things which the behavioral changes happening with Android API levels and the OEMs, this is the only thing how you can cope up with all these in life. Otherwise, yeah, if you miss a few things, it would be hard. You will surely get that, but it would be hard for you. So you should be updated with the things happening in technology world.
Right, true. I actually wanted to know, you're just so successful, and I'm pretty sure every successful person has, some hardships they have faced and struggles they have gone through. So, would you like to share some of your struggles with us?
Okay, I was a university topper. I'm being a gold medalist. I by governor of India, state governor. Sorry. So, but I didn't get a good placement from my college, and the reason was I did diploma instead of 12th. And in the last round, I was always getting this, like, you don't have 12th degree with you. How are people allowing you to come to the last round? At that time, you get so much stressed because you are a topper, and you are not getting good placements from college. It demotivates you in life. But the I think, again, your parents are always your support, and they were like, you are doing hard work, and hard work never goes unrewarded. You should do your part, and these things will come your way. And those companies, after an year, I wouldn't name those companies, but yeah, after an year, I started getting calls from those companies only. Now the things were based on your experience, the kind of work you are doing here, and you can see. I think this is the first chance where I go went for Microsoft and Google, and I got both at the same time. That was also a dilemma for me. Like, I got both at the same time. But yes, Android was something which I was doing, and obviously I would go for Google. But this was a hard work. It's not like I got it in just 1 day, 2 days, or the 3 months. It was all that 6 years or 7 years hard work which I did since I started. On, I won't say 6 years, 7 years, since I started. I've always been that hard working person in life, workaholic. But there were challenges, and I think people should fail in life to get to know the flavor of that, and then experience any success, or what you call as success. I just feel that as a good achievement right now, but not as a successful kind of person I am right now. There are so many things to achieve. But yes, people should have that flavor. Based Failures always make you, you will get to learn how things should be there. uh, you might have, if you just have that success in life and you don't experience the failures. Everyone has that, and I know when you are going through it, you don't understand all these things. But trust me, after that, after some time, if you are doing hard work, hard work never goes unrewarded. I have seen so many instances in life. If I have done something in a month, and after 2 or 3 months, I'm always getting reward for that. So you will get appreciated in life for that. Just keep doing hard work for sure.
That's great. Niharika, I have a question. There are a lot of people that want to switch to the Android. They have somehow the experience in working with different technology. Let's say they are currently working on the web. So, what's your suggestion or recommendation to those people who want to switch to the Android? Do you think that their existing knowledge could help them in switching to the Android?
Syntax and programming principle always remain same in any domain you go. They are always same. It's just that, oh sorry, the principles, solid principles remain same. It's just that syntax gets different. Like you are writing something with variable, where these kind of a few things get changed. It just like the emotions are always similar if you talk in different languages, but you need to learn how to speak that language, right? If I'm talking in English, or if I'm talking in Hindi, or if I'm talking in Urdu, these all are languages, right? But they are expressing the same emotion sometimes, right? The words are different only. The same thing applies to programming languages also. The things are similar, the way you are doing that gets different, the syntax gets different. But if your programming principles are strong, so if you always do the problem solving, the coding problems, right? And after that, company hires you based on that only. They don't expect you to be pro at any domain right now, right? They can put you in any language, right? If those programming problem solving, those programming principles were strong enough at that moment, and you hold that the same way right now, why can't the other language, why can't you try the other language? Because you choose, you got that job based on those problem solving skills only. Then those are there with you, the basics, the ABC of any language is already there with you. Why can't you switch to other language? So you should be knowing the principles there. Syntax, only there minor syntax are there. Even in Android, I switched from Java to Kotlin, right? So even that was a switch for us. People are coming with Kotlin only. I was on Java, and then I switched in 2018 in Kotlin. So there was a change, but we knew the basics, and we were able to change it. And it happens with everyone. Even if you are in web, you just need to learn the syntax, how to write it, and other things are always same. The principles are always same.
Thanks, Niharika. It was a descriptive answer. So I have one more question. As Vibali asked about GDE, that what's the pathway to become a GDE? So I was wondering that what's the pathway to join big tech companies like Google and Microsoft? Uh, did you have some sort of path that you were following for last 6 to 7 years to make your place in Google or let's say big companies, or was it just a random opportunity that you got?
It wasn't a. I'm not sure if I should say it. I know people have dreams to get into big companies, and I totally respect that. I didn't have that. I just knew one thing: I need to do hard work in life. I wanted to be appreciated if I am sitting in a team. I think if you understand this, you have always seen the topper people, right? The topper students, they just want to get appreciated with the things they are doing in life. Even that small appreciation helps them a lot to grow. I was that kind of person who wanted to be. If I'm in a company, if that is small, big, medium, large, I just wanted to get known by my name. And that was something I always felt. I will go in product based companies where I find people, where I get to learn and put my hard work, all my hard work, and people get to know me by my name only. If someone says in thousand people company, they know who is Niharika. And that was, I think that was something, that kick was something where I think I learned the things in depth, gone with my passion. And then this path was created when I got into Google or Microsoft here. So this was a path. It was not a dream. Trust me. People say that I got an opportunity, and I thought might be this is the right time. When I have experienced, I had the flavors of different companies right now. Why don't this, if I have got just one life, why shouldn't I try for these companies also? So and I am blessed to be at Google. I'm learning so much here. Trust me. There are values, there are leadership qualities which what you get here, the ownership. There are so many changes in my life, and they are totally positive changes for sure. But yeah, I never dreamt of to be going for big product companies. It was just I wanted to make an identity of myself wherever I am in life. In it happens with me personally also. I want to excel whatever I am doing in life. And I think if that should be what you should think about. One company, you should never limit your dreams, right? If I am in Google, I shouldn't limit my dreams that I want to be at, this was it. After this, I don't need anything in life. It shouldn't be there. There should always be growth in your life. You should always be thinking, how can I improve? Even if that people are here in Google for almost 20 years, they're always growing. Now if I am here only, I always think, how can I grow? How can I can excel in those great minds and create my own identity here? So I think that should be the path where, which should be the ideal path for people. But yeah, everyone has their different perceptions in life.
That's great. So, Niharika, you were talking a lot about the hard work. So, how do you actually define the hard work? Is it sacrificing your relationship with your friends, not giving them time, not hanging out with them, and not going on the trips and tours? What actually is the hard work that you did to reach at this point where you are right now?
I am an extrovert person. I love people around me. I have so many friends. I've never missed parties. I'm a kind of party person who loves to dance. I do gyms. I have I think people say that I have great network. So I never miss those things. But when you are doing something, do it passionate. Have that passion in your mind. And if you are sitting just for 2 or 3 hours, like if you are preparing for something, or if you just have got a task to complete, just put 2 or 3 hours, like nothing else is happening in the world. And if you can do that, I think rest of those 20 or 21 hours is for you only. And that's how I think, this is how hard work is not about sitting 20 hours in a day, and you are not putting all your mind and efforts in those things, and you're missing, you feel like you're missing out many things. You will never be able to concentrate. It's just about put all your concentration at one point, at one thing only. It can be just 1 or 2 hours only.
That's great. So, I just want to take your opinion on this thing that, like, we are right now the students of computer science, so we have the choice to either start our career in freelancing or to work on our startup, or we could just join an IT company. So, what do you think is an optimal choice for a CS student? Because these days a lot of students are thinking that job at the end of the day is a job, and you are bound, either you are working in some big tech company. So what do you say about it?
As I think we already discussed a few things around it. I would always suggest to have some guidance from your seniors first, and that you can only get when you go outside, when you meet new people in life. As I gave an example of how people create startups, they worked for 10 or 12 years, they put all their hard work, they met so many stakeholders in company, the product managers, designers, testers, CEOs, CTOs of those companies. They get to know how to deal different kind of people, and then they started their own startup. The same way, when you are doing freelancing, people won't trust you till the time you are not doing good projects, or you're not associated with good companies also. So there are two things only. Either you are doing so many good projects in life, and they can just see your work and then hire you for freelancing. Other thing is, you might be working in a very good organization that gives them a sense that if that person is working there, he or she might have that good knowledge with them. So I believe, and the other thing is, I always believe, I think you should always learn from people first and then go for it. Then you can parallelly do the freelancing also. Otherwise you would doing only through seeing some tutorials, a bit of things, but you never got to see the journey in the real world for the applications. That you only get to know when you go and learn from the great minds in industry.
Thank you, Niharika. We also have a question in the comment section, so it will be displayed on our screen. It's about that, how do you deal with imposter syndrome in the tech industry?
I know. This happens every time, and trust me, I also have the same feeling many times when I see when you when you start comparing yourself with the same kind of people who are working with you, or uh, the same domain people actually. I would suggest again, you would never be able to cope up with all the things happening in the tech industry. It can be any domain. You might feel missing out in so many things happening. Even in Android, there are so many things coming up every day. People are doing many open source around it. They are writing so many stuff. So I always feel, I always felt sometimes there was a fear like losing out, missing out on these aspects. But the only thing is, you don't need to learn everything in life. There's nothing like that. If you see, people are just proficient in their own specific topics or areas. They become an expert only when they are digging deep in those areas only. They might not know many other things, but they know that they are confident enough around this. And if you are an expert again, that 10% of learning would always help you out to deal that 90% of things you not do in life. You don't need to learn. I accepted this fact, and I know what I can do that proficiently. I'm just focusing on that part, and rest of the 90% of the things, let people do that. I'm not doing it anymore, because I can't cope up with. I'm just increasing the breadth. I'm not going in depth then, and that doesn't matter. When you go in a senior position, the main things matter is you need to deal with the technology stuff, and like you should know the things happening in the world. But it's not like you should incorporate everything in your application. It shouldn't be happening that way. You should think what exactly people talk about in Android. People talk about many architectures are coming up. There are so many applications which don't hold any architecture till now, but they are working fine. So you need to decide what works best for you, uh, and don't get influenced by so many tweets or LinkedIn posts happening. uh, just ignore them, and focus on what good, the things at what you are good at. It's just that.
Thank you, Niharika. I just want to ask one last question, because I know that the time is about the session is about to end. So, as right now we are telling a lot of informative things about Android to the people, so students are going to get motivated for the time being, but later on they will lose the motivation. So I want to know that what do you do when you lacks motivation, when the level of motivation, because it's not always the same. It's we sometimes are at high level of motivation and sometimes we lacks the motivation. So what do you do in that situation?
I talk to people. I talk to other people. You should have those motivating network around you always. When I was preparing for Google or Microsoft, even at that moment, I prepared for 3 months, and I felt many times like I shouldn't be doing it, because after 6 years I was not comfortable doing all these problem solving, because I loved Android. I was so much into Android that now doing all these data structure questions again, I felt so difficult about it. But there were many friends of mine who helped me to get through it. These are just they can just motivate you, they can just encourage you to do good things in life. And if you have those people around you, just talk to them. You just need those 5 minutes of motivation, and the rest of the part, then you again refocus, get that focus again, and just start doing all these things, because they are able to tell you what's your motivation around it, what was your goal, have you achieved that or not. So those questions got answered by them, and that was the reason how I got motivated again, and I keep doing the things in life. There should be a great network. There should be a good network around you who keeps motivating you for the things you need to do. And always remember the goal. Why did you start this? If you know that, I think keep reminding yourself why did you start all this. So yeah. That's the only thing how I keep myself motivated.
Thank you so much, Niharika. It was a wonderful session, and we really got a chance to learn a lot of things, lot of valuable and informative things from you. So, Vivali, would you like to say something to Niharika?
Yeah, it was a pleasure talking to you. You're just so inspiring, and you like express your thoughts so nicely. I just learned so much from you right now itself. So thank you so much for joining us, taking out your time from such a busy schedule. We're really grateful to have you here.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here. And I hope my words can motivate a few people here. And if even if that is one or two, I would be so happy to know that. But yeah, and I also, as you asked me resources, I'll share with you, and you guys can share it with people there.
Thank you so much, Niharika. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Okay, bye.
So it was a great session. I really enjoyed it, and I hope that our audience enjoyed it as well. So, moving towards our next speaker, the session is going to be about TensorFlow. TensorFlow is also a very popular technology, but we are not going to tell you about this. This part will be covered by the other hosts. So, Kim and Bilal will be taking care of it. So goodbye from our side. Vivali and me, we will be signing off right now. Bye.
Hello everyone, this is Muhammad Bilal. I'm GDSE lead from Concert Center, Pakistan. And if I say hello in my native language, so Hoshamdeed from Pakistan.
Hello, this is Minso Kim from JSC Gist in South Korea. Uh, I would say 안녕하세요. Yeah.
Great. So, how many of you have a profound love for TensorFlow and been working on this amazing technology from the Google? You can tell us in the comment section. We can read your comments happily, and then we'll move towards our TensorFlow session. Cool. Okay, so for TensorFlow session, we are having an amazing speaker for you. We are having Aksa Kausar here. Aksa Kausar is a GDE lead in machine learning. She is a tech lead at Red Buffer as well, and she was a Google Women Developers Academy. And sorry, apologies for my site. She has been a Google Women's Developer Academy mentor not only once but thrice, and that's not a
Whoa.
small thing. So maybe we can introduce her to you.
Mhm. Just please leave a
Hello,
comment.
Aksa. How are you?
Hello, Aksa.
Hello, I'm good. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for joining us for today.
Thank you. So should we start?
Yeah,
Yeah.
control all yours.
Thank you. So let me just share my screen and then we can get started. So is my screen visible?
Yeah, it's visible.
Okay. So today's session is dedicated to AI with TensorFlow. But before we dive into that, so I'm going to just speak a little bit about who I am. So I'm currently working as a tech lead in machine learning at Red Buffer. I am also a Google developer expert in machine learning, and I am also a tech blogger on Medium. So for today's session, this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk about a little bit about my story and how I came here. And then we'll do a dive into TensorFlow, and then we can have the question answer sessions. So I did electrical engineering from NAST. So this is back in 2016. And so I was, and I basically got into electrical engineering because I was interested in robotics, and I had like my goals were planned to basically do masters in robotics and things like that. So I did my FIP in rehabilitation robotics, and that's when I got introduced to more to artificial intelligence, and it picked up my interest. So basically, what happened next is that I jumped off the cliff, which is that I took a leap of faith and I basically kind of left electrical engineering after graduation. Basically, I stopped going towards electrical engineering jobs, and I started to learn more about what machine learning is, what AI is, and I was pretty passionate to learn about it. So I was basically, how this began is that I was at that time I was working for a startup, and I was working as an embedded systems engineer, and they basically needed someone to do an analysis on a research on basically how Facebook and Netflix recommendation algorithm works. So I took up that opportunity and I started to do the research. And the more research I did, the more it fascinated me of how these two systems were actually working. And then I basically, in the same company, there was a position open for machine learning. And so I basically started learning machine learning. I did a lot of courses. So I do like to proudly say that I'm pretty much a lot Andrew Ng built ML enthusiast. And moving on from that, I basically soon became Pakistan's my first female Google developer expert. And so this is basically how it looks like on Google developers. And I also became the first female machine learning GDE in Southeast Asia frontier region. So that's the frontier region. It's about 4 or 5 countries. So that's Pakistan, Nepal, Sri Lanka. And so basically, since then, I've given a lot of workshops, talked about my journey, talked about TensorFlow, talked about machine learning in general. And then I've also been fortunate enough to speak at a lot of international events. I spoke for events in Kuala Lumpur, Philippines, Bhutan, and I've also been a mentor at Google Women Developer Academy thrice. So I was part of their pilot program, and then I've been a mentor for Google Women Developer Academy since then. So now moving on to how what we're really here for. So I'm gonna start off with some of the problems that basically exist out there, and some of the problems that we are trying to solve, right? So one of those problems is basically language independent segmentation of different areas based on mission, right? So for example, what we are trying here to do is we want to segment all of these, this entire piece that we see in front of us. We want to segment it into logical sections, right? So as human beings, we can look at it and we just automatically differentiate between those logical sections. But for the computer program, this is basically a learning process. That's where we built the machine learning models. So one way of doing that is basically, having something like this where you're training your model to identify each of those logical segments separately. And once that you have identified those logical segments separately, you can basically take text from them, do further processing, do further natural language processing on that, or text-based models on that to extract different kinds of information, right? So what normally happens is that when somebody is manually doing this, so you take about 7 to 8 minutes for a 10-page PDF. And if we have to form, for example, a base of this problem, right? So for example, you have legal contracts, and what you want to do is you want to extract important information from those legal contracts. So you want the names of the parties, you want what amount they have agreed on what date they agreed on, and what are the main terms that they've agreed on. So basically a couple of things, right? So if you have people doing this, for a 10-page PDF, let's say, the person's probably going to take 7 to 8 minutes, right? But we can build a model which basically where we can scan the document, segment it into sections, and then we can extract the information using natural language processing. So when it goes through this AI process, so it takes about like 40 seconds for 30 to 40 seconds for a 10-page PDF. So given that we also add, for example, like, we still manually review it. Um, uh, and so that's like for a single PDF versus 15 PDFs through AI. So that's the main difference that's happening in using artificial intelligence. So similarly, if we come to a different problem, so one of the problems so the problem here is that when you have to install solar panels on buildings, what you basically do is that you have, you take about 2 weeks, you have a team that goes to the house, that analyzes the house, does a lot of different kinds of measurements, and then they come up with the plan of where the solar panels should be installed, right? So we at the company, we basically did something very interesting. We took the satellite images and for any location that for the location of your house. So what you do is you add the location of your house, and the system basically extracts the satellite imagery from that, and it analyzes basically through a computer vision model and different factors. So it analyzes where exactly you should be placing the solar panels, right? And it gives you a result of something like this. So it also identifies certain obstacles that you may have. So for example, here, the green one, those are the trees, and those are certain obstacles that you may get for sunlight. So what we have done here basically is that if for a zip code, right, if we take one zip code, right, so you have like hundreds and thousands of houses in that. So if you want to install solar panels, so for each house, if you take about, you need a team, and then you need days and weeks to basically do the measurements. And if you think about doing it for the entire zip code through manpower, it kind of seems like impossible. But AI can solve that problem, right? So AI can achieve speeds basically that are not humanly possible. So that's what makes AI look smarter, right? And similarly, you can, for example, review about 3,000 PDFs documents per day, and that's something that a person cannot possibly do, right? So AI does do things, right? It can solve impossible problems, like, which are not impossible because there exists no solution to it. They seem impossible because of the time that has to be put into that, right? And or the speed that it requires, right? And AI can achieve speeds that are not humanly possible, right? So coming to that, we know that what the potential of artificial intelligence, we know the kind of problems that exist out there, but and then we have TensorFlow basically, which can help us solve a lot of those problems. So TensorFlow, the USP in comparison to all of the other like Cafe and PyTorch, it's basically like it's a powerful machine learning framework in the sense that it has a huge community that's continuously helping build the TensorFlow community as well, and helping make TensorFlow bigger day by day, right? And for TensorFlow, you also have now TensorBoard and TensorFlow Lite, and we'll come to what those two things do. It is better for production models and scalability. It's very well documented, well-written tutorials on the internet. And then one interesting thing about TensorFlow is that it's used for both research and industry. So they have designed it in such a way that you can use, so you have APIs that you can use for quick solutions, and where you're using built-in functions, and you can basically focus more on how you want to build the logics to solve that problem. And then you have you can use TensorFlow to basically do research as well, where you can even go down to writing your own loss functions, writing your own functions that you basically want to call in your models. And it has good speed for high performance. So the companies that are using TensorFlow Lite, Google uses it in almost all of their products now. So they use it on Gmail, they use it on Google Photos, and a lot of other companies use it as well. So Google Rank Brain, which is basically the algorithm that ranks the different websites when we put in any search query on Google. So that's written in TensorFlow as well. Then we also have Cloud TPU. So now we have Cloud TPUs where we can basically run TensorFlow on these devices as well. So this is what the whole picture for what TensorFlow gives us looks like. So we have TensorFlow datasets, we have Keras, we have TensorBoard for analysis, we have TensorFlow Hub, we have TensorFlow for JS, TensorFlow Lite, TensorFlow Serving. So we have all of these things in TensorFlow. So talking about model building first. So for model building, we have from simple to very flexible approach. So you can take both simple approaches and you can go towards as much complexity as you want with TensorFlow. So you already have like built-in layers and you have a sequential API which new users can use. So if you're completely new to TensorFlow and you want to build simple models, so you have the API and you can build very simple models using that. And if you want to basically, and similarly, engineers can use something more advanced in the functional APIs to build products for in the industry. And then similarly, you can also write your own custom layers. You can write your own custom metrics. You can write your own custom loss functions. So you can go from, you can even write your own built-in functions. And that takes us towards more complexity for the researchers as well. And you can also, start writing everything from scratch, similar to how you would, build models using NumPy, just NumPy. So that from that complexity of functionality, you also have functionality where you can just call APIs and or even just directly load models and send in your data, and the TensorFlow would do the rest for you. So let's talk about a simple problem that we can talk about TensorFlow through the simple problem, right? So we have a cache recognition problem. And what we basically want to do is we want to recognize the different kinds of nodes that we have. So the first step obviously would be to collect as much data as possible. And you can think of this as an app for the for blind people, right? For people who can't see, right? So we want to create an app for them that helps ease it for them, that what notes they have, what notes they're supposed to be giving to the shopkeepers, what they're getting. And so this would be one piece of that bigger system. So the first thing you want to do is basically get data. And once you have that data, you can split it into your training and your testing. And one of the things that you can do is with TensorFlow is that you can just split the data and just create simple folders for them. So for example, you can, for training, if you have, you can create a training folder, and then you can create a folder for 10 and create a folder for 100, and then just dump in the corresponding images into each of those folders. And TensorFlow has APIs, has functions where you can just give them this training folder as input, and it would recognize itself that there are two classes. Depending on how many folders you have inside of this folder, there are two classes, and then it was also link each of the images in the respective folders to that class. So it would know that image 1 is for 10 class, image 2 is for 10 class, image 322 is for 100 class. So with time, they're also making it even more simpler for people to use. So this is one of the things that you can do with TensorFlow. And what's the best, since obviously you cannot gather too much of data, if you don't have too much of data, what's the best way of basically solving this problem? So this is where we talk about the data that transformed AI research, where we have about 3.2 million images, and this is what it looks like. So that's the ImageNet data that is basically used in a lot of computer vision problems, because this is what we use to understand to help the model understand the basic features of an image, right? So like things like, okay, what is background, what is foreground, and all of these. And basically we transfer that knowledge to the models that we are trying to train. And so all of this, these things can be done simply using TensorFlow, where you use a pre-trained model, you add in your image generator. So this is the function that would help you just take one folder as input, and then the model will basically know, because of your folder structure, the model would know which classes are there, which images belong to which class, and make that all of that process easy for you. And if you want to do processing on all of those images, for example, you want to rescale them to 256 by 256. So you can easily do that when you're calling this function. So you can add additional arguments and so for all the images that it's picking from the folder, on the run, it will basically rescale them to 256 by 256. And you wouldn't have to basically do it for all of the images separately. And this helps because when you're experimenting, you may want to experiment with different things. So basically, it can help you do things, do augmentations on the run. So for example, you want to zoom all of the images by a certain factor, or you want to rotate them and do different things. So you can do them on the run and you don't have to do that separately. So that's what image generator helps us to do. So moving on, we also have TensorFlow. So now when we're talking about training the models, that's where TensorFlow actually becomes very, very relevant. So TensorBoard basically helps you see how your model is doing. So it's that place where you can see all of that summary about how your images look like. So you have the image tab, so you can see how your input images look like. You have these scalars where you can see the accuracy. You can see how the loss is decreasing, how the accuracy is increasing. And as the model is training, so you can get a live demo of how the losses are decreasing. So this helps in a lot of ways when we are training the model in TensorFlow, and you can basically call this right in your notebooks with just a few lines of code. So next, coming to TensorFlow Lite. So TensorFlow Lite is basically for running machine learning models on mobile and embedded devices. So one great thing about TensorFlow that TensorFlow opened gates to is basically making it easy for us to run, to train models separately and then run them on the mobile devices with very low latency and very small size models. So this you can do for Android, iOS, and other operating systems. So how this looks like is that you train the TensorFlow model and then you convert it into your TensorFlow Lite model, and then basically you can run it on the Android apps or the iOS apps. And TensorFlow also has the support for running models on Arduino. So we'll go through, let's see a demo for this. So what this basically is doing, it's using Arduino to take some sensor values, and based on those, it's trying to predict what motion is being made. So let's run through this again. So TensorFlow, we can also use TensorFlow JS to basically build and run models right in our browsers. So for this, for example, you can run computer vision models where you're using the webcam and you're detecting faces. So you'd be running the model right in your browsers and getting the results right there, or you could build some other interesting applications for this. So one interesting application that was made was basically Magic Mirror. So I'll come to how this works. So there's a model by the name of PauseNet, which basically detects pauses. So the stick figures that you can see in the images, so it detects those stick figures. And what basically a team of engineers did is that they took this model and took the predictions from this model to basically get the moves from the person, right? That what the person is currently basically trying to do. And what they did is they tried to make let me just give the demo to give a view of how this looks like, and then we'll come to how this is basically this is what how the model is working. So it's trying to detect the key points, and but they used a pre-built POSNet model in TensorFlow to basically build the application. So the application was by the name of Move Mirror, and this is what it looked like. So what it's basically doing is, now if we basically go back to what this would make more sense now. So what it's doing is that for all the moves that the person is making, it detects that on the run using the webcam. So whatever move the person is making, so it detects that pause using PauseNet. And then there's a directory of 80,000 images, and in every image, obviously there's a certain kind of pose that's being made. So for every, as you're moving, so it's basically changing the closest image that you match to, that the pose of the person in front of the webcam matches to, and that basically creates a GIF. So let's run through it again now. So I'm going to end this with a dive into AI consciousness. So this is something interesting that basically machine learning can do, and we can do this using a TensorFlow. And so what we're normally in computer vision object detection model, what happens is that you're detecting the different objects in an image. So you get a prediction for each of the objects in the images. But what basically happening is that at each layer of the model, you're trying to understand what exists in that image. You're trying to understand the different features of that image. So there are low-level features, which are, for example, the edges and the colors, the textures. So to the computer, it looks something like this. It doesn't make much sense to us right now, but to the computer, the edges and the color textures look something like this. And when we talk about the different layers in the model, so the initial layers of the model are basically focused more on what the edges and what the textures of the image are. And the higher level layers of the model are basically focused more on the context of the image. So what object exists in that image, right? So whether it's a face, it's a horse, it's a building, whatever it is. And there's a concept that basically takes advantage of this, which is the neurostyle transfer. So what it does is it takes an input image and it takes a style image and tries to create this using a machine learning model. So it starts off with a noisy image, and what it does is it tries to separate that into a style and a content image. So what it tries to do is that you have two images. You have an Eiffel Tower image, and then you have basically style image. So it tries to take basically the style from one image and the content from another image, and to try to give you an output image. And this obviously runs through an iteration of the machine learning model, a couple of iterations of the machine learning model, to basically give you something like this. So you have your content image and then you have your style image, and it results in something like this. So if you can see that it's retaining the high level features, so those are from the higher layers, and for the lower level features, from like the edges and the colors and the textures, those things that's getting from another image. But the objects and what basically the context that exists in that image, it's retaining that. So even Snapchat actually uses this. So if you go into your Snapchat and you basically go into your memories and you pick up an image and you go on the edit button, so you get all of these filters, the different filters that you can apply, the styles that you can apply to your image. So this basically technique that's being used here is the neural style transfer that's being used. So that's about it. Would love to take any questions.
That was super cool. I really enjoyed that whole presentation, and I'm still wondering that why it ended. I need more of it. That was super cool. Before any question drops in the comment sections, I have a question for myself as well. What would you suggest if someone has to dive in the field of artificial intelligence? Where would he or she start? From where? Like from the machine learning concepts, or from the deep learning concepts? Uh, can you guide me on this?
Yes. So basically, if you want to dive into artificial intelligence, so artificial intelligence is the broader term, right? And machine learning is then the child of artificial intelligence, and deep learning is basically a child of machine learning. So when you want to dive into AI, what you basically want to do is, first it depends on you, but usually Python is preferred. So you must have some proficiency in Python, right? It's okay if it's just a beginner proficiency, but you should have some proficiency in Python so that you can basically understand the code, right, for the different frameworks. And once that's done, so the next thing that you want to do is you want to dive into the theory of machine learning. So you want to understand theoretically what machine learning is, how it works, and then get familiar with the different kinds of terms that are being used in machine learning, like activation function, backpropagation, neural networks, and like all of those things, right? And when you are going through the theory of machine learning, you'll automatically be also going into the theory of deep learning. So once you're there, you also obviously want to jump into writing code. So usually when you're taking courses online, especially courses like courses on Coursera, courses on Udemy, or even on YouTube, so most courses actually have assignments and they have coding. So you're also learning the theory and you're also coding side by side, understand how the frameworks are work. So whether it's TensorFlow, whether it's PyTorch, whichever course that you're taking. So they'll be giving you assignments, and that's why some proficiency in Python in coding is like a prereq. So once you're done with those courses, you understand the theory, you've also done some coding and written some models during those courses. So then the next step is for you to basically take up some challenges to better understand all that you have learned. And for that, you can replicate models from, like Medium blogs, or you can also go on to Kaggle and you can take up some data set and try to build some models around them. So that's a way to that's a way that I would suggest.
Yeah. Thank you for your explanation. Can I ask a second question? Yeah.
Yes,
So
yes, sure.
okay. So basically, the TensorFlow is the so much broad library, and some of the students can may start their coding like starting from scratch. So like for me, like it was kind of hard to find all of the features or find layers, functions from the TensorFlow library. So could you guide those for those who want to use TensorFlow, how could they begin their using the library? Do you have any recommendation?
I would definitely suggest that if you're a beginner for TensorFlow and you want to use TensorFlow for the different things, I would definitely suggest that you do take up a course on TensorFlow. So there are some great courses on Coursera, which are focused on basically TensorFlow. And basically all the assignments are in TensorFlow, and they go from beginner level to intermediate level to advanced level. So I would definitely suggest that you start off with that. But if you don't want to start, if for some reason, one reason or the other, you don't want to take a course and you just want to dive into the library and explore, then basically you should start with TensorFlow Keras, right? So don't jump into using the functional API to basically write custom layers. You should start off with Keras because you want to understand first how the built-in functions are already working. And once you understand that, then you can basically go towards the functional API. And TensorFlow documentation, actually, when you go towards write TensorFlow on Google and you go to their website, you basically have this tab where they're talking about TensorFlow tutorials. And when you go into that, you basically see a lot of Colab notebooks for different things in TensorFlow, and they're ordered by difficulty. So you have collabs where you already have like models built using TensorFlow, and they have like a very, very, very good explanation. So for the different lines of code, for everything, they have those collabs are like a very good way to get started and to also run the models and understand them and run them on different kinds of data. So you have for computer vision, for NLP, for standard machine learning, for time series, you have notebooks for all of them. So you can start off with there as well.
Yes, thank you for your guide. Pilar, do you have any other questions?
No, I don't have any questions, but there are some questions dropping down in the comments. Maybe we can pop them up on the screen.
Okay.
Like this is the question.
So someone asked that what is the difference between machine learning and deep learning? So
Okay.
can you tell me about, yeah.
So deep learning is basically the difference is in how big the network is. So that's the main difference between machine learning and deep learning. So if you're talking about a neural network with just one layer, you're talking about machine learning. But if you're talking about a neural network with 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or 1,000 layers, you're basically talking about deep learning. So hence the word deep. So basically for the larger networks that we have, the number of layers that when they increase to 2 or more, so that's what deep learning is. So basically, apart from the standard machine learning techniques like random forest, decision trees, and all of those, basically when we're talking about neural networks, so now we know you are talking about deep learning because that is what's used now. So you don't use neural networks with single layers anymore. You're always using them with more layers, and so you're basically doing deep learning.
Cool. Thank you so much. I hope that helped the person who asked the question. Another question is that what other major skills are there where AI is needed? So I guess he wants to ask that other domains where AI is doing the basic job, the main job in transformations.
Okay, so I understand this question in two ways. So I'm going to answer both of them. So one that I understand is that what other domains AI is progressing and helping in, and the second that I understand is that where AI is needed, what other skills are needed with AI, right? So for the first one, AI is obviously it's transforming everything. That's why they call it, the new electricity. They call it the fourth industrial revolution because it's affecting everything. It's affecting manufacturing. It's affecting medical. It's affecting economics, so it's affecting all of those things. So it's being used in forecasting. So a lot of economics is, they're using AI as well now. It's obviously we have all of these examples like self-driving cars, where vision is being used. It's also being used in medicine, where we're trying to understand medical health data. We're also trying to extract information from reports, or we are doing things like Stanford, where we are creating models to basically detect pneumonia and 14 other diseases from X-rays and doing better than doctors. So AI is basically jumping everywhere. What other skills are needed where AI is needed? That's usually subject to where you're working, because larger companies, when you're working in larger companies, so you are usually, as an AI engineer, you usually focus just on AI, and even in AI, you're split up into multiple things. So you could be CV focused, computer vision, or NLP, or time series, or one of those focused, and even inside of that, you may be focused on a certain kind of problem set. But as that granularity decreases, so where AI is needed, you also need to know ML ops, basically model deployments. You should know how model deployment works. That's a very good skill to have. You should know things like, you should know things about system architecture. It's always good to know things about, like, Dockerization and stuff, because when you're actually working and you're actually doing deployments, and your models are in production, so these things basically come in handy. And then obviously data analytics, it has kind of become separated in a lot of places from AI, because it's like a whole other domain now. There's a lot of effort that goes and focus that goes into analyzing the data, understanding the data, and there are a lot of tools that are built only for that. So in a lot of places, data analysis and machine learning are two separate roles, but in a lot of places, especially for example in Pakistan, they're still considered the same role. So if you're a machine learning engineer, you're also expected to know data analysis, and you're expected to do it end to end. How machine learning pipelines are built, that's a good skill to have. Your basically data manipulations, having a good knowledge of libraries, like libraries in Python, for example, pandas and other libraries that you can use for data manipulation and understanding. So yeah, those are some additional skills that which are good to have. Yes.
And there is another question. Someone wants to know the order of courses that you recommend in Coursera. Like, he gave the example of Andrew. So can you give in a course recommendation?
So when I basically took courses, I took my first course, and that was where the assignments were in MATLAB. So I will not suggest that because now we are not coding in MATLAB for machine learning. So basically there's some really good courses on Coursera. For example, TensorFlow in Practice. That's a very good course. The pathway that I would suggest is that you have some proficiency in Python. So take a course in Python, or you can just um, uh, learn Python through YouTube. So basically have some, or Udemy. So basically take some introductory course in Python where you can so basically you should know how, you should understand code, and you should be able to write some code, right? And once that is there, take an introduction to machine learning kind of a course, or understand some of that through YouTube, whichever of this you're familiar with, right? And once you have formed like that base, then I would say that you jump into TensorFlow in Practice course on Coursera. There are courses by deeplearning.ai on Coursera, and I would definitely recommend them for machine learning and TensorFlow. So if you want to use the TensorFlow framework and you want to learn deep learning, so I would definitely suggest the courses by deeplearning.ai. So they have some specializations as well, where basically it's like continuous 4 different courses. One in machine, introductory, then in computer vision, then NLP, and then time series. They have like specializations where they have multiple courses, and so you can take, so that already kind of they're ordered in path, in the path that you should follow. So which one you should take first, the specialization is already ordered according to that. So that's a good way of learning.
Cool. That's great. What about data camp? What would you say about data camp? If we take data camp's 1 year course, will it do the same job or?
Uh, so I haven't taken courses on data camps. I'm a bit unaware of their courses. So I won't be able to answer this question. But if it's 1 year does sound too long, given that so if they have a course where they're also teaching you usage of a framework, whether it's PyTorch, TensorFlow, Cafe, any, right? So currently it's usually either PyTorch or TensorFlow. So if they're also using either of these framework, then I think it's something that you can go for. But if that 1 year course does not include these frameworks and you have to like additionally go for TensorFlow as well, then that would become, I think, too long to basically too long for it, right?
Okay, okay, that's great. There is a very interesting question right now, and I'm just popping it up on the screen. You can see it on the screen and answer it.
Or can you suggest what kind of contributions you should have to get into Google Summer Code for TensorFlow mentorship? Uh, um, for Google Summer of Code, I can't exactly say that, since I'm not an advocate for Google Summer of Code. I can definitely uh, give more insight into what you can do to become a Google developer expert, though. But from the top of my head and understanding how basically Google community and research works, it's always good to have your GitHub profile. Yeah, like do that. You have done some things out there. You're doing things with open source. You're doing something like that. So whether or not those are complex code or not, so you don't have to worry about that. But what matters is that you're building your GitHub profile. You're getting yourself familiarized with how the open source community. So that's a pretty uh, uh, like it's a good thing to have when you're applying for Google Summer of Code.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for that question. Another question, and I think that would be the last question. What cool work is Pakistan doing using machine learning? Because we see we don't have a lot of startups here in Pakistan regarding AI, and so people think that Pakistan is not doing anything at all in machine learning. They are not well aware of the communities they are working for the betterment of the AI. So, what do you have to say on
Uh,
this?
okay. So a lot of companies in Pakistan have now started to do work in artificial intelligence. The two examples that I showed today, the solar panel one and the logical segmentation one, both of those problems were worked on by my company, and so that's artificial intelligence already doing some cool things. In addition to that, there are also startups that are working for medical, and basically different companies have started to adopt this now, right? And for example, you have keep trucking is also working in the vision domain, even though their product is for America, but a lot of their engineers are from Pakistan and are working from here. But yes, a lot of companies are also working for products in Pakistan and using machine learning for that. uh, for example, there's a lot of work that's being done in tourism using machine learning. So people are doing using machine learning. Their companies say that using machine learning to basically improve the tourism in Pakistan. And there's one interesting thing that I got to know about just yesterday. So the search algorithm for Upwork has also been written by one of Pakistani startups. So Pakistan is doing some cool stuff. It's usually currently being done for more for like being done for more for companies or products abroad. But we are also seeing a shift in that, where we're seeing that all the corporates now have a data science team right here, and all different companies are now having machine learning engineers. They're building their teams around it, and then there are some startups that are already working around AI services.
Thank you
Yep.
so much.
So
Thank you so
thank
much.
you so much for your explanation. And I guess, Bilal, do we have is the question answering done?
Yeah, I guess question answer session is over. So
Okay.
I would like to thank you, Aksa, for being here, for giving us this precious time of yours. It was really an amazing and inspirational session. I really loved it myself, and I hope everyone else who was here and is here enjoyed it as well.
Yeah. Thank you
Thank you.
for
Thank you so much. Thank you
yeah.
for having me
Thank you
here.
so much.
You're welcome.
And so do we have like closing session? Um, okay, let's just wait for a second to.
I think we need to invite all our other leads, all our other hosts to
Okay.
on the screen, and we can close together. So Mohsin is here. Hello
Hello,
and welcome
Musin.
back, Mohsin.
Hello, you guys did a wonderful job, and I couldn't get a chance to say thanks to Aksa. So if she's listening me, Aksa, it really was an informative session, and we really got a chance to learn a lot of information and valuable things from this session. So now this is the time to show you that what's the actual magic behind this global tech fab, the heroes behind the global tech fab, the people who made it possible. uh, I'm talking about the team of our global tech fab, so we would bring them all to the stage one by one. Sanjana is here,
Hi,
Farhan is
Sanjana.
here,
Hi,
Joe is
Farhan.
here. So they are the people who are behind all the efforts of global TechFab Asia track. So I would love if you guys just say something about the event. That did you guys enjoy it? Starting from the Bilal. Bilal, how was your experience?
It was an amazing experience. I would love to be here from the very beginning, but unfortunately, I missed the first hour due to a quiz at my university. But the next 2 hours were just marvelous. I really loved each and every second of the event, and TensorFlow is my love. So the TensorFlow session was just inspirational for me. I just loved it.
That's great. So moving towards the Kim, did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I enjoyed it so much, and I'm quite surprised at how how globally can gather, and it was so good experience that I could learn so much things about TensorFlow. So yeah, it was basically a wonderful experience.
That's great. So we have Joe next. Joe, what do you want to say about the event, the day one?
It was such an amazing experience with the other leads for this event for Track Asia. So I all I can say is that it was fun and I learned a lot.
That's great. So we have Farhan. Farhan, what do you say about this event?
Yeah, it was amazing hosting it, and then like just the planning and all that. We were like very excited for the sessions, and they were amazing. The speakers were amazing. So yeah, it went really well.
So last but not the least, Sanjana. Sanjana, what do you think about this event? Did it go well? Did we do well?
Yeah, I think we did quite well. I mean, it was pretty smooth, and this was my first time in a global collaboration, and I had a lot of fun. It was really nice meeting you guys.
That's great. So, this was the day one of Global Tech Feb. Tomorrow, we are going to have day two, and on day two, we are going to discuss the same technology, Android, Flutter, and TensorFlow, but the in the different region, and the different speakers will come and talk about the same technologies. So keep following us on our social channels. We will share the updates of day two and day three on those platforms. Till then, goodbye. So let's say goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye, everyone.